Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to welcome you and to greet you from Königstein for our video press conference after the results of ACN International are published today. Exceptional times request exceptional measures, so therefore we try to make this press conference via video. And it is my special privilege and my special joy to welcome two representatives of our important partner countries, which is Monsignor Matthew Kuka, the Bishop of Sokoto, Nigeria, and Father Jad Chluk, the representative of the Archdiocese of the Maronite Church in Beirut. They will come with their witness statement about the situation in their countries and will certainly provide you all and us as well with very valuable new informations. Please allow me to mention some technicalities. One is that I would kindly ask everybody who is not talking to switch off its microphone, because by that we are avoiding redundancies. And I would also ask you, when you have some questions, then to use the chat function of Zoom, but please address it directly to Maria Lozano, our press head of press, and she will then proceed the questions to us. We are Philip Ozores, our Secretary General, and I'm Thomas Heine-Geldern, the Executive President of Aid to the Church in Need International. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to admit that 2020 was a real awkward, difficult year. It started with our big concern and our big sorrows about the development in sub-Saharan Africa, where the terrorist development grew enormously, and a lot of countries were heavily inflicted by terrorist acts. It is a long belt from countries which starts from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and ends in the northern part of Mozambique, where the situation of the states and also of the economic environment leads to a radicalization and fundamentalistic Islamization, with a lot of refugees, with a lot of displaced persons, with a lot of suffering, and with a lot of disturbance, murder, and acts of violence. That was when how the year 2020 started, and we then sent immediately in early February a delegation from Königstein to Burkina Faso, a country which has in the past a good symbol of peaceful coexistence among the different religions, and has changed so abruptly. And we are there, we were with a team there sur place, and we had a big opportunity to discuss with our project partners how and where we can help. And then, of course, in February started the Corona pandemic, which affected at first mainly our countries where we do have national offices. You know, we have approximately 23 national offices spread all over the globe, but mainly concentrated on Europe and America, USA, Canada, and some of the Latin American states, as well as Australia and South Korea. Well, there started the pandemic, and we were really overwhelmed by the reaction of the countries of our project partners. Every day we received a big pile of letters, of emails, where all our project partners showed solidarity with us, assured us of their prayers, and really we noticed that we were not alone. However, sadly enough, very soon, the pandemic also spread over to our partner countries, and we had to try to support them, to try to help them, and to establish programs in order to cope with this new situation. In the beginning of the year 2020, we had sorrows because in the first couple of months, the income dropped substantially, and we were not sure whether we really will be able to assume the budgets, and by that to assume our mission in order to finance projects and so on. But, and that is really the huge exception and the really surprise, and which was very, very touching for us, that changed pretty soon. And we have now the privilege to very humbly report that 2020 was the best year ever regarding individual donations to the mission of ACN since ever. We have received over 122 millions, and the majority were donations, direct donations, and not legacies, because the legacies were a little bit prohibited and stopped by the fact that a lot of notaries and lawyer offices had to be closed in several countries due to the pandemic. So we have seen that the generosity and the loyalty of our benefactors was fantastic and really, really impressive. And we are very grateful to the Lord, to the Providence, and to our benefactors that they really fully supported the mission of ACN. I think a part of that was also triggered that we were pretty clear in our messages. We said we have now, in this pandemic situation, to do everything additionally to our mission to support the structure of the church, to support the priests and the women religious who were unable to find their the livestock in order, because when churches are closed, when a lot of institutions are closed, neither the priests nor the women religious in a huge majority of the countries get their living. And so we said it is important to maintain the infrastructure of the church, especially in those states where the state infrastructure might fall apart, and then the majority of the people turn to the church institutions. And then we had the possibility that the church is existing and can do the help. So we had also the joy to welcome new benefactors, much more than in the past years. And we can rely now on a community of over 340,000 benefactors worldwide, who are legal and who are loyal to us, and who are mainly giving permanent donations to us. And so we have a strong base on which we can fulfill our mission in 138 country partners. We help 1,145 dioceses and have supported for over 4,700 projects. That is, in a year of the pandemic, an enormous effort, because you have to take into account that a lot of the structures were at least slowed down, and a lot of projects couldn't be executed because due to Corona, there was a lack of material, a lack of construction possibilities, and so on and so forth. I pass now on the word to our Secretary General, Philip Ozores, who will inform you about the details of our activities over last year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Here we see again, just as a visual glimpse, the extent of the help we do geographically. So you see in red the countries where we had supported projects in the past year, and the little red dots are the locations of our national offices. And we see that most of the offices are in countries where there is no material need of the church, which is why we do not support the church financially in these countries. But we have a few offices also where there is an overlap, where we have both benefactors and projects, for example, like the Philippines or Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, and Chile. We come now into the breakdown of the use of the funds that we spent in 2020. So of the total income, we could spend last year 102.1 million. This means we had a significant surplus last year of above 20 million, which was due to just a slight time lag between the major income of last year, which happened towards the later months of 2020, and the project applications of our project partners, which also were delayed and only started pouring in with in a more significant extent in towards the last months. So that's why the surplus could be spent already in 2021, but it reduced the amount we could spend in 2020. So 122.1 million we spent, most of it, 80.8 million, or 79.9%, went into mission-related expenditures, mostly projects, as we're going to see now. 2.5% we needed to invest into fundraising. It's a very important part. We received no government money or from the church whatsoever. We are solely based on the donations of individuals, which is why this also is a very important part of our organization to be able to raise the funds. And 8.4% went into administrative tasks. As I said, most of the 80.8 million euros of mission-related expenditures went into project work, which amounted to 68.6 million, and another 12.2 million, which is 15.1% of the mission-related expenditures, went into a crucial part of our mission, which is information about evangelization and advocacy, also several prayer campaigns which we did across the year, which does not have the objective of raising funds, but to creating awareness and to delivering highly researched information on the situation of the church in the world, especially the situation of persecuted Christians. For example, one of the major activities we do is the publication every 2 years of the Worldwide Religious Freedom Report, which had to be delayed from 2020 into 2021 and which took place in April. Much of the costs of the report are also already included in 2020. If you look now with a slightly more detail on the allocation of the project decisions, we see that most of the aid goes to Africa, 32.6%. Much goes also into Central and Eastern Europe, with 18%. At the same level is Asia and Oceania. So we have a lot of projects, especially in India, but also in Southeast Asia. We're present in practically all the countries. Latin America is slightly less, with just below 15%. And the Middle East last year was 14.2%. It went down significantly versus previous years, where it was much above 20%. There's several reasons for that. One is that our projects in Iraq, which were directed at sustaining the population there after the ISIS invasion in 2014, they peaked in the previous years so that we could, with the Iraqis on the ground, welcome the Holy Father this year in his visit to Iraq and see how many projects had been done, both for the population directly in emergency help, but also in reconstruction of churches. So these projects had peaked in the last years, but also important projects in other countries which were going on, especially in Syria. They were slowed down both by COVID. A lot of constructions could not take place. The building materials could not be supplied, but also because of the banking crisis in Lebanon, which made our financial aid much more difficult. And we are sure to pick it up significantly this year, including also our aid to Lebanon, which we will be hearing much more about in a minute. We intervened, of course, when the blast occurred in Beirut, but some emergency aid happened last year, but the most significant project expenditures will be taking place this year. So as you see then, we received a lot of requests, 5,700. This is less than in the previous years where we were in times above 8,000 requests. This has, as we said, to do with also the significant constraints that our project partners around the world were subject to, as all of us were in 2020. But we could support the vast majority of these requests, which is very good news. If you look at the type of help we grant, you see that it reflects the truly pastoral character of our charity. We are about keeping the faith alive in the world where it is subject to pressure, to persecution, to discrimination, but also where significant financial poverty constrains the church in fulfilling its mission. And this, you see, this direction of our aid, you can see now in the detailed elements of our project types. So we do subsistence help. We do, let's start with the bigger part. We do a lot of construction. It's a lot of churches. It's a lot of, yeah, we do church buildings. We do renovations of other buildings of the church. I think significant examples will be later the renovation of 2 cathedrals after the Beirut blast in Lebanon, for example, which we committed to and which is still undergoing. So these are examples of our help around the world. We do emergency aid, so especially in the Middle East, but not only, where Christian populations had been massively under pressure, and we help them survive in these very adverse conditions through food, medicine, and other aid packages, toys for children at Christmas, where you have to remember, in Syria, a family now has to survive with 15 euros in a month while the prices have gone up. So these are extreme humanitarian conditions. And this means with 50 euros per family, you can double the monthly income. And it's very humbling, but you really you can make a big difference. And we have the formation of priests and religious is a very important part. We have mass offerings. Mass offerings are mass stipends. In the Catholic world, it's possible to have masses read for your intentions. And what we offer is the possibility that in addition to going to the parishes, our local parishes, we, through ACN, people can have the mass intentions read around the world by poor priests. And there is a very low subsidy connected to it, but it helps the priests survive. And it's also, as we learn, much of these subsidies goes to their parishes. And especially in the COVID times, this was a wonderful way of connecting both the prayer life, but also the direct help to the priests, and in turn enabling them to support the communities even better. Venezuela is a massive example, for example, for my stipends. We have faith formation of laity. Lay people are crucial in conveying the Catholic faith around the world. We have catechists in many countries riding around on bicycles or on foot to reach the remote villages. And the accurate formation in the Catholic faith is crucial for, in that turn, a good evangelization work. Means of transport for pastoral care are very important. A car, a four-wheel drive for a car multiplies the presence of a priest in the local region. Before he had to go on foot, before maybe he could or on a motorbike. Now with a four-wheel drive, there's a possibility to extend massively the radius of presence, and the car becomes also the ambulance and the school bus. The subsistence help for religious is, we have praying monasteries, mostly female contemplative monasteries around the world, also in remote places, also in very difficult places, suburbs of cities, the favelas we have, or even war zones. We help these sisters survive on the ground because we believe their prayer work is essential for a positive development of these areas. COVID was the crucial emergency campaign last year. And here is a breakdown of what we could do through the help of our benefactors who reacted incredibly generously last year. We see we could support 401 projects, and with a financially 6.3 million euros. And much of it went to Asia. We had, but in terms of aid, but you see that the biggest amounts and especially the biggest numbers of projects went to Latin America and Africa. Here are just some facts. As you see, we do a lot of projects around the world, often small projects, and in these pie charts, it's often not possible just to get a feeling for the figures we are working with as an organization. So in 2020, we could do 744 construction projects. We had 1,782 mass offerings. So this is not a euro amount, it's the number of masses that we could enable to be read across the world for our benefactors. We have more than 14,000 seminarians supported, 18,000 catechists and pastoral workers helped, more than 18,000 also religious sisters supported, and 1,243 vehicles, cars, motorbikes, bicycles being funded through our charity. So much about the project work and the breakdown of the finances. Here's just a glimpse on the communication work that is enabling this, but also directed really at mission-based topics, which are not directly related to fundraising. We did a Lent campaign on the martyrs of our times, martyrs and witnesses of the love of God. We want to highlight as a charity that also today, this is not something of the past or of the early Christian times, that today there are a lot of Christians giving their lives for their faith, being persecuted and even killed because of being Christians and speaking openly about their faith in spite of the difficulties. We wanted to highlight this, and we brought many examples around the world, especially from the Middle East and Africa and Asia. We also have the emergency fund for Corona. We had a big emergency campaign for Lebanon, which the blast moved us all. We are always close to the Christians in Syria, a country tortured by 10 years of civil war now. We are very close to them. And a nice addition to our communication work is the global praying campaign, 1 million children praying the rosary. We had around 500,000 who signed up directly in our website. So we are optimistic that we're at least close to the 1 million children praying around the world, both in our donor countries and our project partner countries. It's a moment of worldwide communion, also through the children praying for unity and peace. Especially would like to give a glimpse before we turn to the witness, one of the witnesses we have invited today, before we turn to Monsignor Kuka. It's some pictures showing the elements of the campaign, but it's something we want to highlight also at this annual report. ACN has this core mission of helping persecuted Christians. And this is exactly what we also do every year when we highlight this massive problem of our times in our communication work. And so we spoke about vocations in times of persecution. This is a picture from Nigeria. We speak a lot of Pakistan here, however, with a positive picture where we see there also a lot of attempts to work together between the religions, also from Muslim and other religious leaders. And so we see positive trends there in a very difficult environment. Iraq, as we all learned, is still under massive pressure. We all saw it with the Holy Father's visit. But the religious sisters do a very important work here, also in Iraq. And Syria, here we see young Christians at the tomb of Father Franz van Lucht, who was killed Al-Qaeda the day before they retreated, because he was an outspoken Christian still under extremist Muslim rule. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend, as we learn from the Gospel of St. John. And this is exactly what we want to invite now to speak about. Monsignor Matthew Kuka, Bishop of Sokoto in northern Nigeria, a country very, very troubled by military conflicts, a lot from extremist groups like Boko Haram. We are very close to the Nigerian Christians. We do a lot of projects there. A few years ago, we could visit the country, which was a moment of great communion and joy. And so, Your Excellency, we're very grateful to have you with us today, and we look forward to the messages you have to convey to us. Thank you very much.
Hello, Secretary General and President. Can you hear me?
Very good. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you for such an excellent, very encouraging, very incisive and detailed report. And congratulations on the upward review and the support that your organization has received despite the pandemic. I think this is glory to God, and we really want to thank you. I am also extremely delighted that we in Nigeria in general and Sokoto Diocese in particular are part of this great family. It's not an honor that we take for granted, and I want to assure you that you and the great work that you are doing are constantly in our prayers. So once again, I want to extend our congratulations to you for the excellent work that you are doing, and we look forward to doing even greater work together with you. Your support, your encouragement has strengthened our faith. Without your support and solidarity, not just in the financial dimension, but even in the enthusiasm with which you help to amplify our voices that are weakened by the circumstances around which we live, our inability very often to access the local media and to be able to tell our stories, especially given where we are. So the great work that you do and Maria and her team do in really spreading our messages around the world is something that we're deeply, deeply very appreciative of. I'm happy you make the point because it is a notorious fact. Everybody knows that ours is a very troubled country, almost literally on the verge of internal implosion. The cup of injustice has actually is literally full. The Christian community has been seriously, seriously under pressure. And as you know very well, for the first 6, 7, or 8 years of Boko Haram, the pressure and the attention was in the Northeast. But in the last 2 or 3 years, this crisis has extended to the North Central and the Northwest, which is where we are. And every day, death, destruction on a massive scale has become part and parcel of the portion that we live with every day. As I'm speaking to you, only 2 days ago, I'm sure you heard about the kidnapping of children whose number we can't account for immediately, and the abduction of some of their teachers in Kebbi State. Kebbi State is just neighboring state to Sokoto and is part of our diocese. So really, our story is a very tragic story, but most of what we are, where we are now, it is my own personal belief that had this president not demonstrated a pan-Islamic and a pro-Islamic agenda, it wouldn't have triggered off the kind of attitude that we are seeing against the church. And my argument has always been that the scale of nepotism and the favoritism that this government has exhibited has further denied it the ability to serve as a neutral voice. Because my argument has been that for us as Christians, we have only one choice, and that either Boko Haram tells you it will kill you because you are not a Muslim, or the government stifles you because of where you are. So, but I think happily, the great news for us in Nigeria is that, first of all, we remain quite relentless, and this persecution, which is part and parcel of the oxygen of Christianity and which has been with us, has found greater manifestation. We are witnessing greater expression of faith, confidence in the lives of our people. I was in Kaduna in the seminary. We had a big ceremony, around the very beautiful cenotaph that has been designed to remember Michael, our seminarian. And it was amazing, the number of people that turned up, for that celebration. And Michael and Mrs. Ataga, both of whom were killed for public witnessing of their faith, have regularly, they've made it possible for us to believe that we are part and parcel of the church matters. Only recently, I'm sure you also followed the story of the abduction and the subsequent killing of one of our priests, Father Alphonsus Bello. Happily, we've been able to get back Father Joseph Keke. I spoke to him yesterday. He's in good health, he's recovering. I sent him to Kaduna to receive medical attention and so on. So I just to make the point that ours has been a church of martyrs, and our story is not one of sorrow. It's that I'm also seeing very clearly the rise in the confidence of our people as these things are happening. However, I think that the greatest challenge for us now, having told or tried to tell our story, is how much, how Nigerians and how we Christians see the crisis that we now face. The crisis have also become an opportunity because we are witnessing actually within the Muslim community, especially among the young people, a certain culture of disillusionment. And we are also mapping out strategies to increase our effort at extending the message of Christ, to areas that have been unreached, including, within the Muslim communities around which we live, because we can see a hunger and a thirst, for the message of Christ. So I just want to end by making one or two quick points, which is that the work that you are doing and the effort that you're making to support our work, especially in the area of education and in the area of rebuilding our communities that have been broken, is a wonderful initiative. And I think this is really what is helping us, as far as the support we require is concerned for the future. So once again, I just want to thank you. I know we're running out of time. I want to thank you for the solidarity and the support, and to say that the church in Nigeria and our church in Sokoto Diocese is grateful to you for the encouragement that you continue to give to us and the expression of our. Once again, thank you very much and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Monsignor Kuka, for your brief but very touching, moving testimony. We know that a lot of your flock are fearing for their lives every day, that the future is uncertain. So we can assure you of our prayers, but also of our help. You know that ACN is with you. We now move to a different part of the world, which is Lebanon. Here are just some data about our support last year with the urgent, also in the context, but not only of the blast. So we approved 19 construction projects, very few cars, some mass stipends, a lot of emergency help, training of priests, existential help, and faith formation. So Lebanon has been an ongoing support country for many years, especially in the eastern part of Lebanon, in the Bekaa Valley, which had been, as the whole country, flooded by hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of refugees from the Syrian civil war. So we have been ongoingly supporting also the refugee work, both for Muslims and Christians, of the local bishops. But 2020 has been the catastrophe for Lebanon and Beirut, also by the destruction of the major port of the whole country. So we were happy, thanks to the immediate help of our benefactors and the very generous help, to being able to grant aid of 3.9 million euros, which will be continued also in the same extent in this year. Here's just to show a glimpse, the geographic the geographic location in Beirut of our construction projects. Naturally, most of them are close to the harbor, which also is the Christian quarter of the city. So the Christian quarter was especially affected by the blast, and we were happy to being able to help. Yeah, I'm very glad now to present our next witness today. It's Father Jad Hluk from the Maronite Archdiocese of Beirut. And Father Hluk, I'm very grateful. Welcome to this press conference, and we look forward to hearing your testimony of your own different but also very difficult situation in your country. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Very good.
Okay. Today I'm honored to present amongst you the Maronite Archbishop of Beirut, Monsignor Boulos Abdessater. And I transmit to all of you his blessings because he is in the Holy Synod of the Maronite Church. As I would like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to be part in this conference. And also I would like to thank you for this presentation you made and all the efforts you are making for us. ACN played a major role in this contribution on many levels. After the horrific explosion that ripped Beirut port on August 4th, 2020, Beirut was a huge chaos, which left behind homeless families, scattered houses, and unsheltered people. ACN took prompt actions in providing emergency aids and food for the homeless as a relief to some. However, ACN didn't stop here. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the severe economic situation, and the disastrous state of the capital, representatives were sent to Lebanon to testify on the huge destructions and to shed the light on the urge of the immediate need for donations. This is where, in fact, our collaboration with ACN began. Qualified engineers from our pod rushed to prepare and present many estimated reports to gather as much funds as possible. Luckily, many organizations sympathized with the situation, and we were able to gather around $5.5 million for different purposes, including rehabilitation, tuitions, scholarships, and different equipments for schools especially. We received from other donors around 1.4 million to reconstruct residential houses and apartments. And this was the essential interest of our Archbishop, who wanted, first of all, to help the families to come back to their houses. So we worked, first of all, on rehabilitating the apartments and houses of the families. So this action that we took led to sheltering around 1,700 families till date. And we are still working on reconstructing and rehabilitating these houses. Besides this huge contribution, ACN donated around $1.3 million specifically for the rehabilitation of different institutions and churches of the Maronite Archdiocese of Beirut, including the Cathedral, St. Joseph Church, the Pastoral Center, and the Chancery. This amount is around 25% of the total amount of donations we received or we expect to receive, which is considered a huge percentage coming from one entity. Works in the funded projects are still in progress after almost a year, and funds are still being negotiated where new projects are being integrated and funded by ACN. It is true that financially ACN, along with many others, supported Lebanon, and without all these contributions, Beirut would have lost so many Christians. However, what is important now for us is the humanitarian support for all Lebanese people, especially Christians, who are passing through tough times, doubt, confusion after the pandemic, the economic crisis, and on top of all those, the explosion. Sadly, our country is experiencing now brain drains where Lebanese people, including Christians, especially freshly graduated youth, students, are preferring to immigrate and continue their lives abroad to guarantee a safe and sustainable and contribute in supporting their families in Lebanon. Companies, schools, hospitals, and churches were highly affected by the situation where some of them were obliged to shut down due to the increasing inflation. The majority of Christians are suffering from poverty and they are not being able to provide their basic needs due to the fluctuation of the Lebanese currency that lost almost 90% of its value till date, because maybe tomorrow it will lose more and more. The salaries are still the same and in Lebanese pounds, despite the increase in expenses. Today in Lebanon, Christians are not asking for a donation. We're asking for stability and a safe country to live in. We need a guaranteed environment to help our kids grow in the midst of a tight-knit Christian community. We're asking you, as the Father did, to urge your governments and the international community to keep Lebanon away from the conflicts in the region. And in case they want to penalize the corrupted politicians in Lebanon, let them keep the suffering people away from these political goals. The situation here is becoming more and more unbearable on a humanitarian level. The threats are becoming more real and close. 2 days ago, on June 16th, the UN Department of Safety and Security addressed a letter to its personnel to give them recommendations and guidelines how to survive the deteriorating economic conditions in Lebanon, describing it by excessive power cuts, shortage in medications and baby food, long queues on gas stations. Our call to you today and to all those with good intentions: any humanitarian help or aid is much appreciated, as the basic elements for a simple life are lacking. The poverty is expanding its territory, and we are in desperate need of the basics as food and medicine in order to survive this period. Politicians and traders are taking advantage of the situation while disregarding the existence of the poor people and focusing on their greediness of increasing their profits. Sadly, the poor people are the victims in all this. At the end, I would like to thank you all for supporting the Lebanese people, especially Christians, for we are highly in need of this help. And we ask you also to pray for Lebanon in order to let the Christians continue with their witness amidst this world where it's really needed and where we need to and always Jesus Christ, the risen from the dead.
That was very impressive, and I think it was very, we are very grateful that you really gave us a clear picture of the situation in Lebanon. We will certainly undergo every effort not to let you down. We will continue with our help, but please, I would like to return your request for prayers. Please pray for us. We need the strong spiritual support from your Christians, from your countries, for the developments in our countries, not only that we will be enabled to continue your help, but mainly in order to fight our mission and to remain the important and clear lighthouse for Christianity in the Western world, which becomes a little bit gloomy and darkened sometimes. So please, we ask you for your prayers, and we will try to continue our help to Lebanon, and we will not let you down. Lebanon is the hub of Christianity and is the important place where we can help to reach the decision that Christianity can prevail within the Middle East. Thank you very much for your statement. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to come now to a little bit outlook to 2021 and what are we doing in 2021 and what are our objectives with our plans. Well, against our hope a year ago, we are still in the pandemic crisis, and we still have to cope with that. However, we are very strong supported by the loyalty of our benefactors, and we can continue to assume our mission to the benefit of our project partners. Thanks the Lord for that. What was our great steps forward in order to assume our mission? That was in the Lenten time, a campaign about Africa, healing the wounds of religious extremism in Africa. We don't want to accuse anybody, but we want to heal the wounds. We have to be realizing and to publish that to the whole world that thousands of Christians in Africa are victims of religious and other persecution and are sustained and are helped by the church. And in order to enable the local church to do so, we made this huge campaign all over the place, and we raised the generosity of our benefactors in order to facilitate our projects. And that was a success where we managed to raise awareness for this development, but and got a very good return on that. Then 2021 was the year of the publication of the Religious Freedom Report. Maybe you will ask yourself why a Catholic charity as Aid to the Church in Need is undergoing every second year this huge effort of making a report about the situation of religious freedom all over the world, all over 196 countries. Well, I think it's clear. It's a base of our work, of our responsibility to give a voice to the voiceless. We are completely convinced that the dignity of every human being, of every individual human being, leads to an inextinguishable human right of religious freedom, which means of exercising or not exercising a religion. And based on this view, we think that to create an academic overview of the situation of the religious freedom as a human right in all the countries of this globe is an important base for further discussion, is an important base to raise the awareness about this important issue also in the secular world and not only in the religious environment. So we published this Religious Freedom Report, which is 800 pages about every country I mentioned, and which are executive summary about 40 pages. This got a huge reaction, and we could reach over 1 billion potential readers with our Religious Freedom Report. What is the ongoing plan and the ongoing activity is certainly that we are still very much concerned about the situation in the Middle East. We hope that we are right in our analysis that in Iraq we are in the transition from emergency help to the Christian refugees or Christian communities to the rebuilding of church communities, of formation possibilities. I would like to point out that we have decided to support students for the Catholic University of Erbil in Kurdistan with scholarships. We have committed ourselves to pay for the next 4 years scholarships for 150 students per year in order to allow them to get the right formation, which then will enable them to work for the future, for the bright future of Iraq. We are in Syria in a very difficult situation as the civil war is still continuing, and we have to support the Christians there who want to stay in their country, and that we are not extinguishing Christianity there. One thing is very important, and I would like to raise your attention on that, is that there are a huge impact of the by the negative sanctions against Syria by the European countries, and we know that there are possibilities for exceptions and exemptions, and we would ask the political world to accept the decreed exceptions and exemptions to the benefit of the population of Syria. Lebanon, we have heard a lot, and we will, as I said, continue to help them. So I think that is the outlook of our activities in 2021. And I'm thanking you very much for your attention, and would kindly ask you to raise the questions, and we will be listening to Maria Rosana, which has some questions collected. Thank you. Well, we hear that one of the questions was, could you tell us the 3 countries that have received the most support of ACN in 2020? Please, Philip, could you respond to that?
Yes. It's nicely spread over the world. The number 1 country that we support is India, with more than 5 million euros in support last year. Another, which maybe would be unexpected, is Ukraine, the number 2, with almost 4.8 million euros last year. We do a lot to support the Eastern Catholic churches in this country, which is, as you know, still very poor, also because of the civil war in the ground. And Lebanon was exceptionally the 3rd country last year with 3.9 million euros. Other significant countries of support are Syria, are the Congo, Tanzania, and Brazil. Nigeria, which we just heard so much about, received 1.6 million euros in support. And another country, which I just briefly mentioned, is Venezuela, received also 1.5 million euros, mostly in mass stipends for poor priests and their poor communities.
Okay, next question is, it was mentioned that the number of the benefactors is going up. Could you specify in which countries and how that worked?
Thankfully, I can say that in practically all our national offices, the number of benefactors has been growing in 2020 and is still growing in 2021. We see that our benefactors are very loyal, and a lot of the benefactors that maybe had stopped giving a few years ago are coming back. But what is which makes us especially moving actually for us is that a lot of new benefactors are joining ACN, which is why our income is growing and we are able to give out more help.
Then we would have a next question, which is, which kind of projects related to COVID have been supported by ACN? Philip, would you like to report on that?
Well, just to give some examples, the situation was terrible across the world, Latin America, Asia. Only to give one country, the number of priests who died in Mexico was frightening. So Bangladesh, it's just, we all know that the terrible effect of the pandemic, especially in poor countries, which could not afford a confinement of people, as we actually had the luxury to experience it in Western countries with all its suffering, but at least we could confine. A lot of people could not do it. Also, priests and sisters were highly exposed because they did not stop the pastoral and charity work for their people. So what we did is funding protection measures for priests and sisters, for example, in Ukraine, Belarus, and Zimbabwe. We the existence aid and mass stipends to compensate the lack of support which usually originates from the events and gatherings which form the normal calendar, the normal Christian calendar, Sunday masses, but also religious feasts, which are the occasions also for giving support to the priests. It can be money, but in poorer countries, it can be a cooked meal. This we try to compensate with the growth in aid for these priests, also through mass stipends, as I explained before. And in exceptional cases, also we gave funds to buy machinery like oxygen machines and hospital equipment, for example, in Iraq and Lebanon. COVID did not have only an impact on poverty, but also in the way Christians are relating and in the way priests and sisters can relate to their faithful. And so we also supported means of online communication to like equipment, for example, and trainings also to enable the Catholic Church to stay in touch with the faithful across the world.
Thank you. Do you think that the ECN help for COVID-related cases will go on or will be stopped?
Definitely it will go on. Unfortunately, while the pandemic seems to be receding in the wealthier countries, it's still ravaging in the poor countries. And so naturally we will keep supporting. India was in the headlines earlier this month, and we are planning, for example, to do for India a significant support, nationwide support for the Catholic dioceses.
The last question was that coming Sunday is the World Refugee Day, and we were asked whether we will support refugees and internally displaced persons in the Sahel zone in the future. Well, I can answer to that in 2020, ACN funded over 25 projects to support the refugees and internally displaced persons, which is normally the huge majority of all these suffering people in different parts of the world, especially in Africa and the Middle East. Please bear in mind that 25% of the worldwide internally displaced persons and refugees is stemming from the countries of the sub-Sahel zone. That's mainly Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and Mozambique. We are focusing primarily on Burkina Faso and Mozambique at the moment, where violent jihadist attacks continue and where they create always a huge amount of internal displaced persons. The good thing is that we are able to help via the church structure and via the dioceses. So in Burkina Faso, we are very close with the dioceses of Dori and are supporting the work of the dioceses with our help, and that means we help them to support religious-based refugees, families, catechists, and that means also school fees and health support. So our help, even if it's an humanitarian help, is always linked with a pastoral and a spiritual aim, like to support the catechists in order to be able also to continue the teaching of refugees' families. In Mozambique, we have also, we see the suffering by the jihad's terror since 2017. And especially in the northern part of Mozambique, a lot of Christians were forced to leave their homes. And we are cooperating with the dioceses of Pemba and supporting in a very vast way, also with psychological help, all the refugees in Cabo Delgado, where they are having found shelter. We will continue to do that, and we will also continue to support the missionaries, the catechists, by supplying vehicles, by supplying the help in order to enable them to fulfill their mission. Very good. Thank you for all your interesting questions. We were happy to respond to them, and so we are coming now to an end. I hope that it will be possible that next year we can present our annual report in presence and meet you and have good discussions about the work, the background, and the mission of ACN. I would like to end this video press press conference to thank especially our guests from our project partners, Monsignor Kuka and Father Jad Kluk. Thank you very much for your witnesses, for your clear words. We are really very much impressed, and it gives us a new push in order to continue our work, in order to be enabled to build the bridge between our benefactors and our donors. Thank you very much, and have a good return to your work, as we will continue also our work now. Thank you.